24-year-old Risa Gelgi from Turkey is the world's tallest living woman. She wants to use the title to bring attention to the Weaver syndrome. It is a rare genetic disease that causes rapid growth.
As a towering figure, you will mostly find yourself turning heads and grabbing attention. But don't make the mistake of thinking you're one of the world's tallest until you see the people on our list. From a woman whose height was both an asset and a burden, to a woman who virtually slam dunked her way into success, these women proved that height is just a number. They are the top 10 tallest women in the world you've got to see. Number 10. Olga Larionova Semjonova. An above-average height is considered an advantage in sport, and Olga Semjonova leveraged on her natural gift of tallness to play. Born March 9, 1952, the sports legend stands at a striking 7 feet height. Semjonova was not going to put this to waste. Between 1967 and 1989, the Russian athlete played professional basketball. It did not take long for her to be noticed. And we are not talking about her height on the court alone. Semjonova did not fail to make her mark in the game. She got so famous that she even became Latvia's most popular athlete 12 times between 1970 and 1985. When it comes to awards, Semjonova is no novice. The sports star managed to acquire all the coveted trophies and medals in basketball during her career years and became one of the most decorated basketballers ever. The 11 times winner of the European Cup for Women's Champions Clubs, current EuroLeague women, managed to hold on to the title from 1968 to 1975. She also won the same title in 1977, 81, and 82. As if that was not enough, Olga became the champion of the 1987 European Cup, Liliana Ronchetti. 15 times, she won the championship of the USSR League between 1968 and 1984, excluding only 2 years, 1974 and 1978. During the same 15-year period, Sports Illustrated never picked a repeat male sportsman of the year. For 18 years, Olga was a patriot that played in her national team, the USSR women's national team, and she was able to lead her team into a clean sheet of victories throughout this time. How's that for another record? Olga Semjonova went on to become a 2-time Olympic gold medalist in Montreal, 1976 and Moscow, 1980. It is not surprising that she became the chairwoman of the Latvian Olympian Social Foundation and got recognized as the winningest player in the history of women's basketball. Some more of the trophies on her gallery wall include 3 World Championship awards in São Paulo 1971, Colombia 1975, and Brazil 1983. Number 9. Risa Gelgi. She is a researcher, an activist, a public speaker, a 5-time Guinness World Record holder, and a lover of crime novels. Give it up for Turkey's tallest woman, Risa Gelgi. Born on the first day of 1997, nobody knew she would bring so much recognition to herself and her family. At the time of her birth, Gelgi was an unusual size. She quickly got diagnosed with Weaver's syndrome in Hacettepe University, Pediatric Endocrinology Clinic. It is a rare condition that makes people grow at an unusual rate. The diagnosis is so rare that she was the first person diagnosed with it in Turkey and the 27th in the world. Although no other of her family members has this syndrome, they remained supportive to Risa all her life. She didn't let any diagnosis stop her. Risa continues to advocate for body positivity and has remained influential in the field of women in tech. Though she never went through the traditional system of education because of her condition, Risa was homeschooled and graduated in 2016. During the quarantine of 2020, the brave woman started to study web development. Tech was always her dream. She became an aspiring self-taught front-end developer who has 2 professional certifications from 2 different global institutes. But amidst her professional qualifications are some physical fears. Now 27, Risa broke the record of the tallest living teenager in October 2014, widest handspan in 2022, longest finger on a living person, longest back on a living person, and the tallest woman in the world after she turned 18 in 2021. She now stands at a breathtaking 7 feet 0.7 inches and has reportedly stopped growing after a medical treatment. In her free time, Risa is a curious young adult who loves sightseeing and exploring new places. She also adds swimming to strengthen her muscles with physiotherapy. Her height may have been what has given her this much recognition, but it has also been the reason she is not able to stand for a long time. Rumisa has limited mobility, often needing a wheelchair, and sometimes relies on the aid of a walker to move around. These devices allow her to walk safely and move as she pleases. Number 8. Swetlana Singh. You know the saying, birds of a feather flock together? Well, that's the truth with Swetlana and her husband, Sanjay. He's 6'6" and she's 7'2". The husband narrated how, because of his height, he wondered who he could get married to. He was looking for someone who could match his height. All that concern dropped when he met Swetlana. The family lives in Meerut, outside Delhi, and is blessed with a son, Karan. It is no surprise that the boy inherited his parents' natural tall genes. At just 10 months, the couple reported that he was wearing the clothes of a normal 2 years old. And at the age of 2.5, Karan could already fit into clothes designed for 7-year-olds. His parents hope that one day he will be the tallest man in the world and that he will go on to play basketball in an American school. They think this will be very possible considering his growth rate. Despite being proud of their size, the family admits that it can cause problems. Traveling in buses and cars is almost impossible because both husband and wife have to bend to fit in. And shopping becomes an ordeal in itself as hordes of curious onlookers gather to stare at the couple and their giant baby. They even admit that by the time Karan is 15 years old, he will need a cobbler to customize personal shoes for him. But overall, they are a very happy family with a jolly son. But height is not the only thing Swetlana and her husband share in common. They are both doctors of naturopathy, a holistic medicine. Talk about a match made in heaven. The couple also share in their hope that one day, their son will take after his father and become a doctor too. Singh, however, also doubles as a basketball player. She plays in a small town at the outskirts of Meerut called Mawana. There, the locals have labeled her the female Amitabh Bachchan, hoping she will bring popularity and honor to their small town. The sport has taken her to countries like Japan and allegedly Australia. Later, Swetlana was asked to leave basketball, the sport of her choice, to help the Indian netball team make a name for itself in the Commonwealth Games, which she adhered to in honor of her country. Number 7. Malgorzata Dyack. Basketballers are tall in general, but the tallest WNBA player ever. That's a feat worth noticing. The title belongs to Malgorzata Dyack, commonly known as Margo Dyack. Born in Warsaw, Poland, on April 28, 1974, Dyack made history at 7 feet 2 inches, 2.18 meters. There is no question why she grew to be this tall when Margo's father measured 6 feet 7 inches and her mother 6 feet 3 inches. Having a heritage of tall genes, it is no wonder why she and her 2 siblings are big fans of basketball. The 3 of them eventually went on to play professionally. Dyack's journey to the States began in May 1998 when she attended the WNBA pre-draft camp. She was an imposing figure, and it didn't go unnoticed. The Utah Stars chose her as their number 1 pick in the 1998 WNBA draft. She played for the Stars, later known as the San Antonio Silver Stars, for 7 years. She then continued her WNBA career with the Connecticut Sun and the Los Angeles Sparks. During this time, the athlete became renowned for her shot-blocking skills, holding the record for the most blocks in a WNBA career, with 877 blocks in 323 games. Dyack's shot-blocking prowess was legendary. She led the WNBA in blocks an astonishing 9 times, thus her impact on the defensive end of the court was undeniable. Dyack also represented her home country, Poland, at the 2000 Sydney Olympics, showcasing her talent on the international stage. But every good story has an end, even for award-winning legends and record breakers. Dyack was no exception. The story of her untimely demise brought sorrow to the world of basketball. In 2011, Dyack, who was pregnant with her 3rd child, suffered a heart attack that led to her being placed in a medically induced coma on May 19th. Unfortunately, neither she nor her baby survived. She passed at the young age of 37 in Brisbane in 2011. Number 6. Sung Fang. Amidst the controversy around her height in comparison to another woman's actual height, Sung Fang was crowned the tallest woman in the world. She stands at 7 feet 3 inches, or 2.21 meters. When talking about extraordinary stature, Sun Fang emerges as a fascinating figure. Born in 1987 in the picturesque county of Linquan Fuyang, Anhui Province. Standing tall at an impressive 7 feet 2.6 inches, she not only captures attention as the tallest living Chinese woman, but also secures her place in the Guinness World Records as the tallest living woman globally. Sun Fang is hailed as a walking female giant. Sun Fang's journey began with typical physical development at birth, but the narrative took a dramatic turn after her first year. The acceleration in her growth rate became clear, reaching a point where finding suitable shoes in stores by the 5th grade posed a genuine challenge. Sun Fang's distinctive features include remarkably large feet and hands that resemble fans. Her appetite mirrors the magnitude of her stature, as she effortlessly consumes the equivalent of 6 large bowls of rice in one sitting, an amount comparable to the food intake of 3 adults. To add to her feats, she can gulp down a 2.5 kilogram bottle of beverage in a single breath. However, as the years unfolded, Sun Fang encountered physical challenges, marked by frequent eye and leg pains. A subsequent examination revealed the presence of a brain tumor. She died, having lived a more or less happy life at the age of 40. Number 5. Sadika Parvan. Unusual growth comes with 2 things: a large appetite and health complications. For Sadika Parvan, it was these 2 factors that put pressure on her economically backwards family. Her appetite could rarely ever be sated. Sadika required a whopping 5 kilograms of rice to feed daily. This was difficult for her poor family to keep up with. Resident of Srirampur village in the Banshihari block, India, Sadika struggled with many health issues, including a fractured spine. This was due to a tumor growing in her pituitary gland that caused gigantism and led to her accelerated growth spurt. Sadika Parvan's unusual growth began at the age of 23. She gained international recognition in 2013 when she was featured in the Guinness Book of World Records as the tallest woman in the world, after the holder of her time passed. In fact, the complications behind this record are challenging. Sadika was measured at a towering height of 7 feet 3 inches, but there were claims that she was actually taller. But because of her fractured spine and her inability to stand up straight, Guinness Book of Records could never ascertain these claims for sure. Parvan's condition continued to worsen. She needed quick medical attention to remove the tumor in her head. In order to have this operation, Parvan had to travel more than 1,000 miles from her small village to the All India Institute of Medical Sciences in New Delhi. Neurosurgeons removed the tumor by inserting an endoscope through her nostrils, but the surgery was complicated due to Parvan's large head, according to Dr. P.K. Bithal, head of neuroanesthesiology. Anesthetizing her would be a problem with her head size, since we did not have endotracheal tubes of her head size, and she had difficulty lying down with the multiple fractures in her spine. Finding an operating table big enough for Parvan was challenging as well. Doctors found the biggest one and attached additional trolleys to it. With the surgery successful, it was only the beginning of a long healing process, said endocrinologist Dr. Nikhil Tandon. Even after the operation, her health continued to worsen. Her uncle Mukhtarul Islam said Sadika was severely ill for the past few days, unable to pass urine or stool for an entire week. She eventually succumbed to a rare disease at the age of 36 years. Her death was recorded at the Gangarampur Super Speciality Hospital. It cast a pall of gloom over her entire town. Now it's time for today's subscriber pick. Tall girls can't just have their break. One girl walks up to the beach to relax and tan a bit. She gets there and finds out that everyone wants to take a picture with her. Another girl, Amazon Ashley, uses her height as an advantage and becomes the world's tallest stripper. But sometimes, these tall girls just want to be normal without becoming the object of spectacle. Wherever they go, people raise video cameras even without her consent, completely ignoring her privacy. What do you think about these situations? Should tall women have bodyguards to shoo away unwanted attention seekers, or should they pass a law to protect their privacy? Funny, right? Tell us what you suggest, because sometimes these women just want to do normal stuff like everyone else. Number 4. Sandy Allen. Another tall woman with a tumor in her pituitary gland. Allen was born in June 1955, weighing 6.5 pounds. By the age of 10, she had grown to be 6 feet 3, and by age 16, she was 7'1". That's even rare for adults. Talk less of a child. Sandy eventually reached the staggering height of 7 feet 7 that gained her a spot on this list. However, in 1977, she underwent an operation to stop further growth. You would think her amazing height would make her popular amongst people, but no. Sandy herself said that her social life was non-existent. After the Guinness Book of Records featured her as the tallest woman, she had hopes that maybe the popularity of the book would bring some brightness to her life. Sandy was right, because after her name was published, she was casted in Federico Fellini's 1976 film Casanova, appearing as Angelina the Giantess. She was featured in the 1981 Canadian documentary Being Different. She also appeared in a TV movie called Sideshow in 1981. Allen was proud of her height. She embraced it in making it a tool to educate people. Sandy Allen, who used her height to inspire school children to accept those who are different, loved kids. They were the ones that were bold enough to ask honest questions while adults just stood staring, bewildered. Later on, Allen developed some difficulty with mobility that forced her to curtail her public speaking. She had suffered from diabetes and other ailments and used a wheelchair to get around. Allen died at 53 in a nursing home in her hometown of Shelbyville. They say that the cause of her death is not yet known, but given her health records, it could be any of the health issues she struggled with. Family friend Rosa said, prior to her death, Allen had been hospitalized with a recurring blood infection, diabetes, breathing troubles, and kidney failure. That is one strong woman, given that she didn't let this stop her throughout her life. Since Allen loved kids, it is not surprising that after her demise, a scholarship fund was set up in her name through the Blue River Community Foundation, with proceeds going to Shelbyville High School. Number 3. Yao Defen. I am very unhappy. Why am I this tall? Yao Defen, Guinness Book of Record breaker, expressed this in a video. She was China's tallest woman and the world's tallest after Sandy Allen. Yao towered at 7 feet 7, as at the last time her height was documented, though other sources say she grew an additional 1 inch before she passed. Unlike Sandy, Yao was not at all happy with her height. She lived a private life with her mother in the house they shared, in a small village in China's central Anhui province. Yao Defen did not live her whole life moping about her size. When she was 15, Yao learned to play basketball at 6 feet and 7 inches or 200 centimeters tall, something Sandy never did. Yao's height was not without its complications. Defen's pituitary glands produced a large amount of growth hormones caused by a tumor, inhibiting its ability to regulate growth hormones. She continued to grow until it led to more complications that caused Yao to lose her sight. Her mother then became her guide, leading Yao everywhere she went. The Guinness World Records editor-in-chief, Craig Glenday, said he was moved by Defen's story. As most of the world's tallest people experience, it isn't easy living in an average-sized world, and life expectancy can be tragically short. Regardless of severe health issues, Yao was able to live up to 40 years before she passed. Glenn Ray reported that he is comforted by the fact that Guinness was able to give Defen the opportunity to have her story told around the world and bring her to the attention of the medical community. His thoughts continue to be with the family. Number 2. Zang Jinlan. It is not scarce to find 2 average-sized parents who gave birth to a tall offspring. But for someone as tall as Zang coming from relatively short parents, that's incredible. Zang went on to be just that, an incredibly tall girl with a height of a whopping 8 feet 1 inch. It is uncertain where she got the genes because her parents are 5 feet 4.5 inches and 5 feet 1.5 inches tall. Even her brother was 5 feet 2, 158 centimeters by the time he was 18. So just like most people on this list, her unusual growth was attributed to a tumor in her pituitary gland. Zang lived in a time where medicine was not as advanced as it is now. Perhaps that is what contributed greatly to her fear of carrying out the surgery to remove the tumor. She continued to grow her whole life until her death on February 13, 1982. After Zang was born, her abnormal height development started when she was 4 months old. The child outgrew her mother by age 5, and by age 13, she stood at 7 feet 7.5 inches, 232 centimeters. That's taller than the then tallest man, Robert Wadlow, was at the same age. Zang still attended school, starting at age 7 and graduating in 1980. At age 16, Zang was measured at 7'10", 240 centimeters, and weighed 324 pounds. During a routine medical check for her diabetes, and only months later within the same year, she was given the record of tallest living woman. At this point, Zang had garnered regional prominence for her unusual stature, which led to visitors regularly coming to her home to meet her, almost 100 on a single day during visiting peak. The local government provided Zang with a yearly payment to cover some of her living expenses. While she and her family mostly subsisted off of fish from the nearby lake, Zang reportedly ate 20 dumplings for breakfast and 6 bowls of rice with vegetables for dinner each day, consuming around 500 kilograms of food each year. Zang was generally described as being shy and reserved, but noted to have a passion for literature such as magazines and detective novels, as well as sports, particularly basketball, though she eventually stopped due to developing scoliosis related to her increasing height. Zang was also incredibly physically strong. This was noticed at a young age of 4. Before her death, her issue with scoliosis and diabetes worsened. Zang's back problems eventually left her unable to walk and rely on a wheelchair for mobility. Number 1. Ella Nwing. It is the moment you have all been waiting for. Time to reveal the tallest woman in the world. It is none other than Ella Ewing, often called the Missouri Giantess. Ella was born on March 9, 1872, in a small rural area of Missouri. Ella lived through a time in history where people with physical differences were mostly marginalized. This did not stop the bright woman from triumphing over the setbacks in her life. Though she endured some hardship, Ella put her extraordinary height of 8 feet, 4.5 inches to good use. It could have been her limitations, but it became a leverage in making her mark in history. Ella can be remembered for her resilience as a notable figure in American history. It all started when her height began increasing rapidly during her childhood. By the time she was a teenager, she was already significantly taller than her mates, which drew a lot of attention to her. This brought a lot of physical and emotional pain to Ella, as at that time, the medical technique to stop her growing was not as developed as it is now. Unfortunately, Ella continued to be ridiculed at such a young age, leading to a life of isolation. She became subject to curious eyes in her Missouri neighborhood. However, Ella's life took a turn for the better when she realized that her unusual height could be an asset rather than a burden. With the support of her family, she began touring with sideshows and circuses, including the renowned Barnum and Bailey Circus. She traveled extensively across the United States, earning a decent living by showcasing her height. Her life on the road was not easy, as it involved exposure to public ridicule. The movie, The Greatest Showman, depicted this issue, yet not as badly as Ella experienced it. Her life was always on the road. Ella had to endure these. Yet it also provided her with opportunities that were otherwise unavailable to her, given the limitations imposed by her condition. The shows and tours were physically and mentally demanding. Ella was usually required to stand for long periods, which was painful for someone of her height. Additionally, the constant scrutiny and questions about her condition were exhausting. Despite this, Ella displayed a positive attitude and even used her fame to advocate for herself and others with similar conditions. She was known for her kindness and intelligence, qualities that endeared her to those who met her. Throughout her career, Ella saved enough money to build a house in Gorin, Missouri, specially designed to accommodate her height. This home was her sanctuary, a place where she could live comfortably away from the public eye. The house had custom-made furniture and doors, allowing Ella to move around with ease. Despite the financial stability her career brought, Ella's health deteriorated over the years due to the strain of her lifestyle and the physical toll her height took on her body. She suffered from various health issues, including respiratory problems. On January 10, 1913, Ella passed away from tuberculosis and pneumonia, illnesses that were common at the time and particularly dangerous for someone as her, in her weakened state. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.